Hop on our family FaceTime call. Hey everyone! Can you believe it? Thanksgiving's just a few days away. Is everyone ready?
Okay, what do I cook first, the dessert or the Thanksgiving dinner?
Hey, what's the best stuffing recipe?
With the stuffing, should I cook it inside the turkey or in its separate dish?
How long do you mash mashed potatoes for?
How long would I cook a 23-pound turkey?
What's turkey made out of?
Well, sounds like we have some work to do, but it's okay. I've got everyone covered right now on MOMCAST. How is your Thanksgiving plan coming along? Obviously, my family, we have a long ways to go, but we're officially a week out. And did you know there are things that we can be doing right now to prep for the big day? And gosh, it just makes it so much easier. Food Network star and mother of three, her name is Kelsey Nixon, has cracked the code on Thanksgiving. She's giving MOMCAST the inside scoop on her popular Thanksgiving prep guide, a countdown to Thanksgiving that will make the holiday just way more enjoyable with the foods that you can cook today, tomorrow, 3 days up leading to Thanksgiving. We have got you covered, giving us all a chance to take a deep breath and enjoy the holidays. What a concept. I feel like I grew up like we wake up at 4 a.m. and that turkey gets going, and then the yams and the this and then that. But you're completely breaking that stereotype.
Yeah, I do. And you know what? Call me crazy. I just love prepping for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is like my Olympics, right? I look forward to it all year round. It is my favorite meal of the year. Whenever I'm asked what's your final meal, I always say Thanksgiving. Like, I love the food. I really love the pageantry of it all. And so selfishly for me, I kind of like want to bask in that land of Thanksgiving for a while. So that's why I created this whole timeline. Is I thought, I don't want to, because when you do it all in one day or even 2 days, it feels frantic and stressful. And then these people that you've got with you that you care about, whether it's family that's traveled from out of town or friends that are making up your Friendsgiving, it's hard to really enjoy your people because you're so worried about getting everything made for the meal. And so by breaking it down, it allows me to enjoy all of the parts of Thanksgiving that I love so much. And it's kind of fun. It's almost like a little marathon to get to the big day. But everything I do everything starting 10 days ahead. I do a few things every day. None of them take more than, as we get closer, they'll take maybe a little longer, but like what I did yesterday took me 10 minutes. Like, it didn't take that long, but that pre-planning in my head and getting my head in that space of, what are we making? Okay, do I have tongs to serve the salad? Oh my gosh, that's right. I need to get these serving things. Just thinking about it a little bit in advance, just going to make it so much more enjoyable on the big day.
We're a week out. What should I or what could I have done or prepared?
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to show you because
let's do it.
I'm a paper person, as you know. I like things out. So I like to print my timeline out and keep it in my recipe binder. So I literally have, it's the same one I use every year, and I put these in page protectors so that I can literally cross them off when I accomplish things. I'm crazy, I know. But
Precious.
So we're a week out. These are the things you've already done. You've already determined what your menu is going to be. You've already determined, okay, what needs oven space? What needs stovetop? What can be made totally in advance? What do I need space in the fridge for? Those are certain things that are really important that aren't going to overwhelm you on the day. I always like to print my recipes too, because as we discussed, cooking from your phone on Thanksgiving, it's not a great experience. So if you print your recipes out, mine are all here, and you have them in something like a binder, whether it's your regular recipe binder or it's a binder that you have specifically for Thanksgiving Day, being able to cook from a hard copy is going to make that process so much easier on the big day. So we've already decided what we're making. We've already printed those out. We've determined where we need to have oven space and so forth. And then about 7 days before, that's when I make 2 shopping lists. So I make a shop now list and then a secondary shopping list. So I get as much as I can get a week in advance, whether that's grocery pickup, which I'm a fan of, or grocery delivery, or just going to the good old fashioned grocery store. Get anything you can that doesn't need to be super fresh. That way you're hopefully eliminating last minute rushes to the grocery store when they're out of certain things, but you know you're going to go at least one more time. So you've got that list going and you can have that set and ready to go.
What's typically on that list, the things that don't need to be fresh?
So things like if you're going to use like a stuffing mix, like there's a certain brand, Pepperidge Farm, it's what my mom always used. It's what I like to have. They have this cubed stuffing mix. So that's an example of something that I would pick up in advance. My family makes this cranberry salad, which is a retro recipe from my mother's 8th grade home economics cookbook. she has made every holiday since she was married, and like it is no holiday without this, but it has, like any good retro recipe, miniature marshmallows and crushed pineapple in it, along with cranberries and pomegranate and whipped cream. It is so good. But those are examples of pantry staples that, or like chicken broth, or butter, or tinfoil. Oh my gosh, last Thanksgiving, I went to go cover the turkey as it came out of the oven to let it rest, and I pulled out this much tinfoil. I was like, how did I not have tinfoil for this? So little things like that, going through your list and seeing what can I get now that's shelf stable and doesn't necessarily need to be fresh for the big day. Those are some good ones. This is also when I like to start thinking about, is there anything I can make in advance? So I actually always make my gravy in advance. I know that sounds crazy, but I feel like turkey gravy is the most stressful thing because it's always right before the meal. And you're trying to get those turkey drippings and you're trying to make the gravy and it's not thickening up or it's too lumpy and everyone's ready to eat and you don't want the turkey to get cold. So I have a make ahead gravy that I make in advance. You can actually freeze it or you can keep it in the fridge for about 5 days. And then I take the turkey drippings at the end and I just warm it together so that I'm not worried about actually making that gravy from scratch on the day. So I make my gravy in advance. I'll make pie dough in advance. If you're making pies ahead of time, you can totally do that. So just going through that list and saying, is there anything that can be made in advance is going to be a huge help.
And give me an example of like, okay, day 6. Turkey tips continue right here on MOMCAST.
MOMCAST is sponsored by Moxie Pest Control, protecting what matters most.
So I make my gravy in advance. I'll make pie dough in advance. If you're making pies ahead of time, you can totally do that. So just going through that list and saying, is there anything that can be made in advance is going to be a huge help.
And give me an example of like, okay, day 6, what are we doing? Day 5, What are we doing?
Okay, so day 6 is when I always think about thawing my turkey. So depending on how big your turkey is, you might want to start thawing it nearly 6 days in advance. And what I mean by that is taking it from the freezer and putting it into the fridge. Okay. Everybody, we've all seen the bathtubs with the turkey, trying to thaw the turkey in the bathtub. It takes longer than you think. So 6 days in advance, I always check my turkey and see, do I need to move this to the fridge now? Because you really want that to be completely thawed before you start cooking it. I always do I'm literally looking at my list here. So
please, yes, I love it.
Yes. Let's see, what else do I do? I do my round 2 shopping, typically 4 days before. On 4 days before, I call it my prep party. I slice and dice all my veggies. So anything that can be sliced and diced in advance, whether it's chopped onions or it's carrots or celery, I will go ahead and prep my veggies 4 days in advance. I try and see if there's any desserts that can be made in advance. So depending on what type of pie you're making, or like for us, that cranberry salad is like kind of a dessert because you end up freezing it. It's so weird, but it's such a fun recipe for us. But that one can be frozen in advance. So anything you can do to take it off your plate, I'm definitely going to do. One of my best tips is actually the night before Thanksgiving, I like to completely set the table. Because I feel like if you're hosting in any capacity and people come over on Thanksgiving Day and things are not going well on the cooking front, if your table's set, you feel in control. It looks like you're ready to go, even if you're kind of freaking out a little bit. So I always completely set my table the night or the day before Thanksgiving. The plates come out, the silverware comes out, everything like that. The serving platters I'll pull out, and I like to put little sticky notes on them that say, this is where the Brussels sprouts are going to go, and this is where the rolls are going to go. And what's nice about that is when guests come over and they walk into your kitchen and say, how can I help? Because you already labeled those things, you can say, hey, will you take the rolls out of the oven and put them in the bread basket? Or can you transfer the roasted veggies to the platter that says roasted vegetables? And it's a great task to give someone to do.
And it's all spelled out. So you're not having to do like direction by direction. Oh, that's so brilliant. Okay. So what are the things that I can cook beforehand? And what are the things I have to cook day of?
Okay. So let's start with day of.
Okay.
So, and this is actually a good thing to talk about as well, because if you are hosting, please take people up on their offer to bring something. No, don't try and be a hero. Do not try and make every aspect of the meal unless you absolutely have to. Yeah. So what I suggest in that regard is you're divvying things up to people is you should make the things that are hardest to transfer. Like, don't ask someone to bring the turkey. That's hard. That's too hard for someone to travel with the turkey to your house. So the turkey is an example of something you're not going to want to make that in advance. Now, if you are wanting to go all out and you want to brine your turkey this year or do some sort of salt rub or something like that, you may want to start that early, but you'll know if you're that person and you'll know you need to get started. But the turkey is something you're going to want to do day of. The rolls, nice warm rolls. You don't want to bake those rolls in advance. That's something you're definitely going to want to do in advance or excuse me, day of. Things like if you are serving any sort of skillet dish, like I have a skillet green bean casserole that we like to do, and that is something that's not going to hold well. So anything that needs to be warm, you want to think first that needs to be made day of. The things, and it's totally just going to depend on your menu. In fact, Emma, hold on. I want to show you because I did this yesterday. This is my real life Thanksgiving menu that I wrote out. So I've got my turkey and then I have it color coded because I'm a weirdo. And it's all you're precious. Say oven, stovetop, and make ahead. So everything that's pink can be made ahead. So I have my make ahead gravy that I told you about. I'm doing roasted root vegetables with a cider vinaigrette that goes on top. So the cider vinaigrette can be made in advance, but I'm going to do those root vegetables on the actual day. Okay. The cranberry salad is pink because I told you that could be done in advance. Our family does this ridiculous drink called slush that is like, it's just a tradition, right? It's got cranberry and pineapple and Sprite that goes in it, and that can be made and frozen in advance. And then the almond apple pie, I have a small pink line because I like to make my pie crust in advance. But honestly, the best thing before you worry about what specific dishes you should make in advance, you should just write out your menu. That is the most important thing to do. And you may know it in your head, but I'm telling you, write it out. Have it visible so that it's kind of like a guide that you can keep coming back to.
You have rubbed shoulders with the most famous chefs on the planet. I mean, like Bobby Flay, everyone at Food Network. You know them and you have worked with them. Are there tips that you can share with the regular mom who's just trying to cook that you think like, man, if you make these changes, that will pay off in the kitchen?
Oh, that is such a good question. Well, I have to say, so Bobby was the executive producer of my show for 7 seasons. So Bobby and I got to know each other. And one of the things I always loved about Bobby is how much he loves Thanksgiving. And I actually think that some of his, like, he genuinely is obsessed with Thanksgiving. And I think some of that kind of rubbed off on me. I heard him say the line as well, that it's his Olympics. Like, this is it. This is our day to shine as cooks. This is our day to do it. And so I always just appreciated the gumption and gusto for the holiday in general. Alex Guarnaschelli, who Alex is all over the Food Network. She's on The Kitchen. She's chopped. She's been there forever and she's amazing. And one of the best tips I ever got from Alex, and this is in regards to both planning a big meal, a big festive meal like Thanksgiving, or just everyday cooking, is to treat your kitchen like a grocery store. And what she meant by that is anytime you are planning food for a large group of people, you want to take a look at everything you have on hand before you actually go do this massive grocery shop. So you're going to open your fridge, you're going to open your freezer, your pantry, and be like, what do we already have in this grocery store?
Turkey tips continue right here on MOMCAST, but that's not all. Because after your meal, we're going shopping.
they will honor that lower price.
You see her all over the Today Show, national news, sharing her incredible advice to us, to shoppers. Well, now, Trey Bodge is on MOMCAST with the secrets that you need to know before you shop.
What A needs to be used up? What do I not want to buy double of? Because you certainly don't need 6 cans of canned pumpkin. So if you've already got the canned pumpkin on hand, look before you just go order everything for the big holiday. Not only is it going to save you money, it's going to be better when it comes to wasting food. I waste so much less food because I just take on this simple habit of doing this. And like cranberries, I used cranberries for a job a couple weeks ago, and I just noticed I have a bunch in my freezer. So no need to go buy all these new fresh cranberries for these recipes. I can use what I have on hand. So that's one that really comes to mind as far as a tip for Thanksgiving.
For a lot of us, it's stressful. Like it's just stressful. The timing, the food, remembering everything. How do you just enjoy it?
Well,
Order out.
First of all,
No,
I just want to validate that it is stressful, and it's even stressful for someone who loves Thanksgiving as much as I do. But I am telling you that taking the time, even if you're not a planner, even if you're like, no, I am not type A, this is not the way I operate, I just like to cook from the hip. If there's any time to make a plan when it comes to cooking a meal, it is Thanksgiving. So for me, I think it's all in the planning and the preparation. That is the best way to relieve the stress. And even if it's 3 days in advance or 5 days in advance, and you're like, I'm already 6 days behind the prep. No, you're not. You are just fine. But taking the time to sit down, write it out, don't make a plan in your head. You're going to physically write it out, and then you're going to put it somewhere that it's visible and accessible. I think that is the most important thing you can do. I also think I want to remind you that you should ask for help. No one should ever make Thanksgiving dinner all by themselves. So if it feels like that is falling on your shoulders and no one's offered to help, you know who's going to help? The local bakery. They bake rolls, they bake pies, they do or the local barbecue joint. You're going to pick up a smoked turkey. You're going to do whatever you can to relieve some of that stress, because no one is ever supposed to do this all by themselves. In fact, one of the best Thanksgiving turkeys I ever had, we were visiting family in Texas, and they got a smoked turkey, and it was so much fun. So if you are going to rely on help from these different places, there's no shame in that. In fact, you may be even kicking off a tradition, right? If you hate making pie, don't make pie. No one says you have to make pie. Either ask someone who's coming to dinner that likes to make the pie, or just go pick it up at the bakery. So find everyone's formula is going to be a little bit different based on your group size, your likes and dislikes, your comfort level in the kitchen. But that is all going to be defined when you sit down and make a plan.
And speaking of making a plan, we need to plan to hit the shops and snag some deals after we're done with our turkey. I caught up with smart shopper Trey Bodge about the tips to live by this season.
There are a couple of categories that are very strong on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, that it might be hard to beat those deals later in the season. Tech is one of them. So you might have a hard time finding as good of a deal on a TV, for example, a tablet, some AirPods. However, we are having a bit of a roller coaster of a holiday shopping season. Retailers are rolling sales throughout, and so they come and go. So it is possible that you'll see those items on sale again in December. But the good news is we will see deals in very specific categories in December. So you can kind of frame your shopping that way. Toys are very deeply discounted in December. We often see a lot of colder weather apparel. And then anything holiday themed will be clearance level, because retailers are going to be looking to clear that merchandise out prior to the new year so they can restock with fresher things for the new year.
What rights do I have as a consumer if I bought a toy already and it's even discounted even more as we get closer to Christmas? Is there anything that I can do to kind of, I don't know, get some more money back?
In many cases, yes. And so many of the larger retailers offer some sort of price protection. Now, the policies change from retailer to retailer. I know for sure that Target has their holiday price match guarantee. That's throughout the season until December 24th. So if you happen to buy something at Target and the price goes lower later, they will honor that lower price. You can find similar benefits at other retailers as well. So it's always worth asking because then you can get that money back.
Are there certain retailers that you think, man, maybe you should shop there? You're going to get a better deal and you're going to have more protection as a consumer.
Yeah, I mean, consumers are more protected at the larger retailers,
Mm,
sort of taking Amazon out of the equation right now because they don't price match,
right.
but many of the larger retailers do. So if you're looking for price protection, that's a better option. However, I hesitate to say that only because I think it's important that we support our small businesses and our mom and pops downtown. So I don't want to say shop only at your big box retailers, but maybe you buy your more broad market items at the big box retailers, and then you buy your really special, unique, handmade things at the mom and pops downtown.
This year does feel a little bit different. Obviously, we're dealing with inflation and we're dealing with higher prices everywhere, not just when it comes to holiday shopping. But predictions are that people are really going to spend. Why are we seeing that?
So it's interesting because I'm seeing pretty widely varying reports about what spending is going to be. So the National Retail Federation is saying 3 to 4%, which if you adjust for inflation, that's, pretty moderate. Then you're looking at Deloitte and they're predicting, I think, 11 to 13%, and that's a massive jump. And so I'm inclined actually to follow the NRF this year, simply because of the conversations that I'm having and what I'm reading. I feel like people are going to be more cautious. A recent poll from Bread Financial said that 33% of people are expecting to pay more, but 76% of people are going to be looking for sales and deals. And so while we're kind of preparing and gearing ourselves up for inflation, we're trying not to spend more. And so we also reached $1 trillion in credit card debt recently for the first time in our history. And so my hope and my feeling is that people are going to shop carefully this year in an effort not to add to that credit card debt number.
If someone is dealing with that credit card debt and, that, gosh, that just dark cloud over you for the holidays, what's some
Yeah.
of your advice for people like that? Because they still want to enjoy the season, right?
Yes, and I have been there. I'm not there now, and I'm very grateful for that. But if you are struggling with credit card debt, it is time to have a very honest conversation with yourself about what you can afford.
MOMCAST is sponsored by Moxie Pest Control, protecting what matters most.